All right. How's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about?
With RIA.
So I'm with RIA LOEKS again. She's my guest. I don't know if you ever heard of her. She's Filipino. She's short. She's on Instagram all the time and Facebook.
It's true.
Yeah. So what I want to get into today with her is actually a subject. Did you bring it up yesterday?
I did.
She brought this up. So I don't know what the exact title would be yet. I've still kind of been throwing that around. But we were in Bakersfield, California. We were driving around. Truthfully, there wasn't much to do. So we started to come up with ideas for the podcast. And she said, let's talk about porn. Like the strengths, the weaknesses. The title I think I'm going to name it is kind of a woman's perspective on
we were
porn.
talking about football.
No, we'll do the next one, football.
You just...
I know, I switched it on you. I do this all the time.
God.
So
Okay.
I lie to her. I set her up for one thing, and then I tell her another, so it catches her off guard.
Okay.
Because then when she thinks through it too much to me, then it becomes kind of scripted.
All right, whatever.
All right, so basically this is going to be about porn.
Okay.
So Ria's 50 years old. I'm 50 years old.
Correct.
And she has a different perspective on pornography than most women I know or have ever met, which is quite interesting. Yeah. Well, at least they're probably lying to me. But, yeah, so the porn industry is different than ever, I think, but it's looked at differently than ever. But what I want to get her into this is when you hear her opinion, it's quite interesting. So you tell me your perspective on what you think about porn now, mainly on the internet.
What? That's easily accessible,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And women are lying to you if they are telling you they are not watching it.
Right. I heard a stat once, women watch more porn than men, longer time periods. I don't know if that's true or not. I think men go to porn, look at something, for the most part, masturbate kind of after a certain amount of time. Not the ones that are addicted to it, but then get off after they do whatever they do. Where women, I think, kind of navigate through it and look at a lot of different things. Again, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, you know what? I guess you're right. I mean, I thought you were saying that women watch like longer movies or things like that. I don't think so. I do think that they spend time. I don't know about they, but I think, there's time spent just kind of filtering through the short videos or whatever. I know you make fun of me with Cinemax, because that's stupid. That's not even porn. I don't even consider that soft porn. That's ridiculous,
Right.
That's like dry humping.
Yeah, but they're full nude. They're full nudity, right? I can't stand Cinemax.
I don't think it's, no, not necessarily full. They don't show the bottom halves.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then, if, woman's blowing the guy, they're not showing that. They just show the top of her head.
Right. So you don't think a lot of women are honest about how much they're on porn.
I would, yeah.
That's your perspective.
Yeah, I do, because I think a lot of women, if you think about it, a lot of the women who are going into adult stores, or people who go into adult stores, I think it's a lot more women than men, to be honest with you, because they're buying, toys, vibrators, things like that.
That makes sense.
Right. And also I think a lot of women also, I mean, there's so much, there's those parties or things catered to women for toys and gadgets and things like that. So that to me goes hand in hand, not just with their own sexuality with their partner, but I do think with what they do in their private time when they're alone.
Right.
Right? I mean, if we're going to be candid, we joke about, we both travel a lot.
Right.
Okay. And, if we're going to just be lay it all on the table, I think that a lot of people understand we have a very healthy sexual lifestyle, the two of us.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, whatever. I know a lot of people who know us are listening to this. It's
right.
No secret. But I do think that we're apart from each other a lot.
Right.
And I think that women hide the fact that they take care of themselves. I don't know if it's because it's been a taboo, especially in the the age group that I'm in, the 40 to the 50s. It's a bad thing,
And there's a lot of lying. Because the truth I see with a lot of women is they don't like men being on porn, but they're secretively on porn.
If you
correct?
If you go on to xxnx, let's be real, or Pornhub, there are so many of those vignettes or videos that are catered to women, I think, because there are more storylines.
Right.
You know.
And more women are in porn. Let's call it for what it is. Or even if it's...
what?
It's not even scripted, hypothetically. It's just raw. So it's a lot more open than it was before.
Yeah. Those, what do you call them? Yeah, those are weird, though. I don't like those.
I don't know either. What's the name? I can't remember. But anyways, go on.
Yeah, so I think that it's interesting that women overall tend to hide what they really are doing. I mean, is it really that bad? I mean, let's be real. Is it?
Right, and I think sometimes I teach a Mastering Self-Confidence program, and I try to help men find the woman or women of their dreams. I have a section on porn, just like I did in my book, Wingman.
You do.
And that's more or less trying to help guys who want to actually get involved with the porn industry or date women in porn, or that like porn, and stripping and all these type of things. And the one thing I think over the years that I learned about women is, I think they're a lot more open-minded too when watching porn. Because I think a lot of straight guys basically like lesbians, or they like, just men and women, hypothetically. They're not into the gay thing. Right. Where I think women, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them will watch all different types of porn.
Correct.
Right. And they're more open-minded even with watching two women. Most dudes that are straight are not going to watch two dudes have sex, most likely.
Right.
Maybe out of curiosity. I don't know. I haven't done that. But I'm just saying a lot of women will watch all different types of sexual acts.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Because, I mean, I think, what was it? I was, this was a while back, but I was reading a stat that most straight women prefer to watch lesbian porn, which is, I think, that's why there's so many of those, clips or whatever you want to call them, shared on, these porn sites.
Right.
Or even if you watch, you go on Showtime Cinemax, there's at least two sections or two storylines where it's just girl on girl.
Yeah, and let's face it, a lot of pornography is based around two girls and one guy.
Right.
It's huge.
Right. But
right, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying that but I think it was like 60% of the porn that is watched by straight women is lesbian. It's not threesomes where it's two guys or a girl or two girls and a guy. It's just two women or three women. Yeah,
and I forgot that research. It's in my book Wingman, where they studied women's behaviors when watching pornography. So let's take for men, for instance, when they watched men or a man with a woman, very excited. A man with two women, very excited. Lesbianism, very excited. Then when it went to homosexuality, a lot of them got sick, got turned off. I didn't want to see any of that. Even two guys with a girl was okay, I guess, to a certain degree.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think it was like the levels. But then when they studied women, all different types of sexual acts, homosexuality, bisexuality, all these different things, they were really, they were attracted. Some were, some weren't. I'm not saying all of them, but they did get some type of rise out of them. I think they checked their blood temperature, whatever they did, whatever study it is. But it was quite interesting when I read that article.
Really?
Yeah, I think I talk about that in my Wingman book. I have more of it in the factual sense because I grabbed it straight from that.
Yeah, I don't like the guy, the two guys. The dwarfism's really weird to me. The fetishes are really weird to me.
Yeah, I think that becomes something where you're bored
the dominatrix things, whether it's a girl with a girl or a girl with a guy. That's just, the whips and all that.
Yeah, and so let's go back to why you think it's good or bad. You think I think
it's healthy.
Right. And I think what happens with a lot of people is that I've seen over the years, how do I say this? It's a release. But then you do hear of all these studies where younger people are getting addicted to it. So just like anything else, moderation, I think, with porn is the key. But some people, especially, I couldn't imagine when I was younger, for instance, we only had magazines.
Right.
And then VHSs came out. It wasn't that easy to get porn on VHS. But then when the DVD thing came out, it exploded.
The discs,
right. Yeah, I mean, there were independent video stores that you could go in the back room and grab porn, but if I'm not mistaken, you had to be over 21 to walk in there, not even 18.
No, I think it was 18.
Was it 18?
Yeah, it was 18.
Okay, so it was kind of a weird place to go. You go between the curtain, you had to slide back there, And back then, to me, it was corny because they were emulating all real movies into porn. So
I like those.
Really? And then they had TV shows too, right?
They're funny, yeah. There's some of those.
That's things that are real corny,
like to watch those.
I'm out on.
They're hilarious.
Yeah, so my buddies and all them, they started collecting porn and they're sharing porn, funny things.
Really?
And then they would, VHS, I can't say, they had some VHSs, I don't even want to say what buddy, and they would rank them. So if they sucked, it would have under the title little P, like little porn, like there's a little porn that's good. Then they had big P, which meant big porn, like this is a big one, this is the big dog.
That's so funny. See, because I think what women do is they use porn as a guide to learn new things.
Absolutely.
Right, just because, like you were talking about magazines, I think it's like the way Cosmo back in the day was, always give you the tips and tricks and all that stuff. But reading it, I think by watching it, you learn different things or, and you want to try different things and infuse that into your relationship. And I don't think that's bad, right? No,
and I think the reality is, if you guys hear anything in the back, I think there's some kids running down the hallway. That's not our fault. I feel like it's kind of funny we're talking about this. We're not talking like this in front of kids for a living.
No, we're not.
But yeah, with a lot of, I think, younger women and men, you talk to younger women or you hear about these things, that's really where they learn to have sex a lot of times, where they learn a lot of tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
But I also think a lot of men who think having sex like a porn star is the way to have sex too, which can kind of blow up in their face.
That's ridiculous.
But if you're being programmed from a young boy and that's all you see from the age of 12 years old on, that's kind of what you relate to.
Right.
We, like I said, back to magazines for the most part, that's, you're getting Playboy didn't have sex, but it was like Penthouse, Hustler, and, all those type of magazines. It's kind of where we first saw sex, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Except with my crazy father taking me to a Playboy club in Geneva, and I'm seeing shows with naked breasts, and I'm 12 years old, which was kind of hilarious in itself. That was funny too. And then him, like, I'd go to strip clubs at a young age and stuff and just be like, I didn't look at sex a lot of times as just sex. I looked at it as a business. And that's how I still look at alcohol. Because when I was raised in a nightclub, right, I almost look at porn as a business. And I remember hanging out in a lot of strip clubs, and then I knew girls that went into porn in the 80s, late 80s. And what I found quite interesting about a lot of women that went into porn is how disposable they were. But also, porn is a marketing thing. And same with stripping. I don't think people realize this. I'm going to give you a heads up. So a lot of strippers don't just make money stripping. They get tagged or marked by other wealthy men to do other things. That could be traveling with them. They can, these wealthy men can pay for their apartments, give them a certain lifestyle that they liked. And I think the next level was porn. So I first think stripping was huge, and that's what a lot of strippers did. But now it's pornography. I think a lot of women use porn to market themselves. They also still go to strip clubs to do some marketing. But a lot of wealthy men want to be, or people that have money want to be around, or say they were with a porn star. I'm not saying they're hookers or whatever.
Right.
But I do believe that porn now, especially the ones that become more well-known and famous, they're still being tagged or getting attached to wealthier people to do certain acts. It could be even go to a showing, hypothetically, for, like years ago, you had strippers go to bachelor parties, but you can have a well-known, if you had the money, porn star come to a party of yours. You just got to pay a lot of money.
I think that's so far and few between, though, now with the notoriety of being a famous porn star.
Right.
Because porn is so accessible and anyone can shoot a video now.
Absolutely.
Right.
But I'm talking the high-end
No,
ones. It would be like a showing at an
I get
event
that,
or anything
sure.
else.
Yeah, we've seen that. We know that, right? Of course. It's a marketing tool. Of course.
It's a marketing tool.
Yeah.
They're not just making money in porn. They
No,
can make their money on, like Ria's saying, different products, books, not just DVDs. That's what I'm saying. Appearances. So I think when people look at a porn star, like, oh my God, all she does is have sex with all these different men. And here's the other thing. If you're religious or not, I think a lot of people look at women, which they like as a victim sometimes because of drugs and alcohol, which is true, I think, a lot of times. Yeah. But the truth is a lot of them like to have sex, and a lot of sex, and they like having sex with different men. A lot of them just choose that life because they like that life.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And we've seen docs on that, of course.
Oh, correct. But I'm saying somebody who listens to this may not really know that.
That's
but
true.
And same with men. men look like, like filthy pigs that are in porn, blah, blah, blah. It's a rough business. There's no question about that. And after I made some films, you start to meet people in porn and this and that, and different people that market them and different people that direct them and stuff. And like that's a more higher level, not these independent ones. But
Right.
it's probably I don't know if it's the biggest business. I'd say it's one of the biggest businesses in the world. What did they say? Porn does more money than the NFL, Major League, all the major league sports put together on the internet.
Well, I mean, remember we were laughing about that other stat that the country that watches the most porn is the Philippines.
Per square foot, like per size, right?
No, the country where the most people watch porn is the Philippines.
Wow, that's
has nothing
crazy.
to do with size of a country.
Wow.
It's where the most porn is watched. So they were watching.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like I thought it meant just that size.
No, it was how many, on the sites, how many, that they were watching the most.
Wow, and I heard a study. All of a sudden, we look like these goofy studies. I don't know if they're true, but some of the most watched porn is in Orlando, Florida, because of all the massive conventions that go on there. So you have Vegas. You would think it'd be Vegas because of all the strippers stuff, but a lot of them get prostitutes or whatever to go.
Yeah.
But Orlando, Florida, prostitution isn't as available.
Are you talking about in overall, or are you talking just the city?
The city of Orlando,
Yeah.
because of all the conventions, and tourism's coming there.
Yeah.
A lot of people are watching it there, and you wouldn't expect that because you'd think it's a more Disney-orientated town. They're there with their family and
that's
kids.
No, I get it. 'Cause
Conventions.
the conventions are what bring
Right.
all the people, yeah. But the country that watches the most porn is the Philippines.
That's absolutely insane. Those little people.
Not a little. You are
Anyway,
such a
so
generalization.
here's the one thing also I'm going to say about porn. I think, and I think this is going to happen in the future, like they did with weed. I think eventually they're going to be opening shops, massage parlors that are legit, will give a man a massage in a full release. I think eventually. I think a lot of people don't realize how much porn releases stress on men and women. Especially men. I think that are alone. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, but I don't agree with you. But that's okay.
Tell me what you think.
I don't think so. I don't think that necessarily. I can see where you want to say that goes hand in hand, but I don't think that that's to an extent of being legalized. I don't think so. I think what would be maybe where there in Vegas, there's the what do you call them, the escorts or things like that, where certain places, or the brothels where it's legal, right? I don't think overall in our country of the U.S. that they would go to that extent where they would legalize that type of service.
Well, put it this way. If I hire a prostitute in a certain state, that's illegal. But if I go, say I'm a production company, and I hire a girl, and I just set a camera up, and I have sex with her and videotape it, that's legal, right? I think that's ridiculous, because I can actually, if you film it, it's legal. If I don't film it, it's illegal.
But it's only in certain places that it's legal where you can film. That's why, like in the San Fernando Valley, and a lot of these homegrown whatever, right? They're not saying, "Oh, I filmed this in Fort Lauderdale, Florida," or whatever, right? They're not really advertising that. I think it's still done in some places, privately. I think that the argument is if we legalize, prostitution, then the rape, whatever will go down. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a whole other subject. But I don't think that, I don't think it would get to that point, because it's still pockets and areas where those types of legalizations are still happening. So
the problem that they have with those type of places, back to massage parlors, is because of the trafficking of sex. So they get a lot of people. That's the problem. But if they want to eliminate part of that problem, and you legalize it, and the women there are willing to do that and not have a problem, kind of like the Bunny Ranch in Vegas, hypothetically, they all know they're there on their own, what is that, recognizance? Is that the word? Right?
on their own choice.
Their own choice. But I think they're not going to be able to control it one way or another. But back to this, if you can have any service basically done to you personally, from on any level, except that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, because you could get your face massage, your feet massage, your ass massage. Everything could be massaged except an organ. Just one one action, there's one thing that stops, and that all of a sudden becomes illegal, hypothetically, which is kind of ridiculous to a certain point.
But I think the trafficking subject is more so with younger
Of course.
girls. So I think that's the difference. I mean, are you want to go to a massage parlor, and get massaged by a 42-year-old woman necessarily? Maybe if she looked younger. But I think that's the other thing too, right? So I mean, I think some men want different choices, but I think the whole point is, you're talking about the trafficking of
Absolutely,
women. I think it's because it's more catered to for the younger. I don't think that because you legalize massage parlors that do extra services that's going to really necessarily stop the other thing.
Well, I do think, though, eventually they are going to legalize in our country at some time or another, very similar to what Vegas is doing. Just like Vegas used to do gambling and the rest of the country didn't, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if they haven't already over Europe, where they do in the red light district, it still hasn't happened there. And Europe is a little more progressive than we are.
But back to me, Vegas, weed, now Vegas, prostitution.
I still don't
they can't control it. I do think in certain areas, especially like South Florida, maybe places in California, that's just my theory.
Right.
Okay.
But we're
Anyways, we jump from porn to
opinion.
that.
Yeah, I'm just stating my opinion.
All right, where are we at here time-wise, though? We're at 21 minutes. Anything else you got to say about pornography with women?
No.
That's really it?
Yeah, because you veered off, but that's okay. No, I'm done.
Well, no, my point was going to be, I think a lot of women in porn, or that like a lot of sex, after they're done with that, where they're going to go.
But that was, yeah.
Right? I was going to say, we got to go full circle. I think they're going to end up going into those type of businesses. I think it's also really hard for a woman that gets, at this point in time, I don't know the future, once they kind of do porn and they become on the internet or they get exposed, it's really kind of hard, I think, on them to still all of a sudden do a lot of things without always being marked as that type of person. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. I think my last thing is, bottom line, women watch porn. And that's
Yeah.
what I think, right? So I think, let me get back to the beginning.
Yes.
Right? Okay, we're not talking about women in the industry. We're talking about women overall do watch porn, and that was my opinion, and that's it.
By a large amount.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you guys get a chance, you can go to richcelenza.com and find out all the different stuff about me. I'm on YouTube. I'll be doing a lot of videos on fitness, actually, on YouTube. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Where are you at, Rhea?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Yeah.
Where else? That's it?
Yeah.
All right, that's it. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks. The next one's going to be on football.
Yeah.
All right, take care.